Well, if you've been listening to us for a bit, what thing you may have actually recognized is the fact that we really don't have a clue, a name, or much else from that. This is, I guess it's
That
aspirational
didn't
as we're
stop
rolling
us.
forward. But our hopes are that we want to be able to be talking about things that aren't always talked about in circles, especially by dudes, because that's what you need more of is three white guys mansplaining trauma and health and everything else. But we want to be moving towards, yes, like what we're talking about today. We've been talking about different evangelical nasties or folks that suck in the evangelical faith. We've been talking about different cults and cult-like activities. We're talking about mental health, and now we're moving on to the unlearning curve, where we're going to be diving into things that we are learning or unlearning or wrestling through authentically, transparently, and very late at night for JD as well too. I know that, so that's
Yeah, it's moderately.
Karl, what are you unlearning?
Well, I guess at the moment, one of the big things is for the past 10 years or so, I've been too deeply connected to politics. And I blame Trump for all of that, that's pulled me in even deeper than I usually get into politics. And I told my therapist, I said, it feels like for those 10 years, I've been just attached organically to that whole mess. And it's crazy, and it's like reality TV, and it's not helpful for me. And so she and I talked about removing the weight of the world from your shoulders. I think that's something else we get from Christianity. Our mottos were things like, we're going to save the world. We're going to take the world back, make America great again. All those things that are they're too big for us to comprehend. And so then it becomes not, JD's helped me with this a little bit. He's kind of the voice of reason in our relationship a lot of times, but that it's not enough for me just to maybe speak out a little and vote as one person in a 350 million people. But I feel like somehow there's a weight on me that says I have to be a key component in turning this ship around, right? And that's why we give people gave $1 billion to Kamala's campaign in 3 months. If I do more, then I'll save the world, right? Maybe that's a noble idea. Maybe it's a good aspiration, but if you don't keep that in check, then it's all on my shoulders. And if it fails, it's all my fault. And religion
also
makes
what can
you feel
lead
that
people
way.
to things like being a pastor or a cult leader.
Yeah. You're the church member, you're the one that's responsible for connecting to your neighbor and saving them and not letting them go to hell. So the weight of the world is on your shoulders. She kind of helped me find some inner language to just say, no, I don't need to carry all of that burden. It's good to care, right? It's good to be involved. It's certainly good to be informed. But I feel like for 10 years, I've kept too much of that on my shoulders. And so I don't know how it's going to get removed, but I think it's already, my perspective has changed just a little bit. Because we're going into a time that a lot of people are just frightened and scared, and that if you keep that burden, then you get more desperate. You do things that are crazy and not helpful. So that's what I've been working on. That's what I'm trying to find out more about. It's kind of giving yourself permission to just exist, be there, be with people. Realize some of your friends will disappoint you. Realize religious people are going to cause problems, and you just can't handle all of that, even just for your family. To be too deeply invested. If it fails, it's my fault, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like, I feel like what my therapist has been messing with me with, it's the idea of finding out the things you can control and kind of putting your efforts into those areas of the things that you do have control over, not over the larger ideas of things, the larger political swaths and things that are moving in our country. It's just being able to slow down and understand, okay, I can, I need to show up here, but all this other stuff that I'm holding within myself. Cause yeah, I think the election was tough, going through it. Like I did, the month before I was out, every day of the week canvassing in our area, and it's, investing and doing a lot. And we wanted to be able to invest in our community and do what we're doing. But at the same time, I had other canvassers that are just like, we don't know, how are we feeling, what is going to go on. And I had to keep coming back to it. Well, we can only do what we can do. And we're not responsible for all of this. We're just out doing what we can in front of us. And it's hard, especially when it feels like the world's on fire, to not want to do more, but also not being also part of just adding more noise to the already noisy sources, which is kind of funny that we're on a podcast and talking about that too. But yeah.
JD, what about you?
To that end, I often, it's like, as much as I don't like, these, like I said earlier, these kind of like axiomatic phrases and slogans and things like that, I do often teach my kids the Serenity Prayer, because I think that's knowing, and I've long been a fan of, if you want to make change, you got to do it on a local level first. Looking at things like history and stuff like that, you do have to do it on a local level first. What have I been learning? The question. I don't, I've mostly been boning up on my Cold War history and on health psychology. So I can't say as I have something in particular, but I think I've been trying to, because of some of the health psychology that I've been learning, it's been a lot about trying to listen, and I think this is a little bit hard for me and you guys probably both know this as parents, but taking some of the concerns of like other people, but especially of young people who can, I mean, you may not believe me, but sometimes they can be a little bit overly dramatic. Just shocked, right? Sometimes they can be a little, but taking them seriously, and at least having like real discussions with them, as opposed to just being like, because I've long tried to have that teaching strategy, but sometimes, like right now, I'm very, very busy. And so sometimes it's easier just to, again, simple solution, to just go, no, that's not, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. But I found it, obviously it's much better for them if I just go, okay, all right, just you tell me, you explain out your whole thing, and I'll give you what I think. And then we're both going to go back home. We're going to think about it. And then you either email me or we talk about it again. It's just not trying to, I guess, dump out those simple solutions to other people. Even if I really do, sometimes I like legitimately know, if you just do this, it will be done. But it's like, if I can get them to get to the point where they come to that conclusion themselves, then they'll learn the lesson a lot easier than if I just dictate it to them. And so I generally tend to not try to dictate things anyway, but when you're overwhelmed, when you're busy, it's hard not to. And so that's been the big thing for me recently. It's just being like, it's end of the semester, everyone's stressed out. So just giving people space to air those kind of grievances or issues or whatever it is. And not trying to, I guess, like coil up and just react to them, which has been a good learning experience for me, but is certainly not easy all the time.
I'm kind of finding that it's surprising at 60 years old that I still have deep insecurities about things. And, it's kind of the wrestling match I did a while ago. Do I really want to tackle those? That sounds hard and long, and sure would pay great dividends, but it's just hard to kind of get started and admit that and then work on it. So
I do think, like I said earlier, though, that once you get going, it gets easier. Like that's especially one thing. Like now when and this is like a simple, like kind of a trite thing, but like even in the morning, like I notice when I just get up and then I just get out of the house, then it's like I'm so much more productive. But it's kind of, once you get the ball rolling, you really like build that momentum. And I don't know, that's something I've been trying to do. It's just like, okay, just go get something done. Especially when it comes to things like that, like doing trauma work and things like that. Because it's a lot easier just to sit around. Sorry.
Yeah, no. That's I think part of that. Like I've had to learn also just to be way more patient with myself and kind. I think some of doing that trauma work is just a lot of what I've worked with my therapist and then subsequent long conversations with my wife, unpacking these things, but of just me being kinder to myself when I look at my past. About stuff that I've walked through or I've been through and be like, oh, I wish I could have done this or should have done this or all these other stuff. But being able to recognize that my past self doesn't know what my present self knows. I haven't, this is only now that I've been giving myself space to wrestle through this kind of things. And so even being able to look retroactively at my past history and just be a lot kinder to how I'm moving then, when I look back, but also it helps me to be kinder, I think, as I'm moving now.
And to your point, you can't control that. It's done. It's in the past. So you have to understand it and build upon that. Which is, not, it sounds simple, but it's sometimes also feels like a Sisyphean task.
It does, because it'll sometimes feel like, wrestling through trauma, you'll be like, oh, I feel like I've worked on this area and it's great. And then you look down, there's like, there's another rock for you.
And you push that one up and then this one comes collapsing down because something triggers you about it. Yeah.
I want to bring in an expert on this.
Oh.
Winston the Wonder Dog?
Let's see if she will. No, if Laura will do. Laura,
I like Mom better anyway.
I thought Karl was just going to introduce himself again to the segment.
I want to bring it off his hat.
Me.
And here I am. Laura talks often about this phrase, it's no wonder. And we're going to ask her on the spot if she'll respond to that and say what we learned about that part of trauma work.
And thank you, Karl, through your blessing. You're allowing, we talked about the Southern Baptists, you're allowing a woman to speak to other men in this situation. Thankfully, it's not leadership. She's just, you're a director. You're directing.
She's more speaking to women, let's be honest.
Me for doing that. No.
Girl.
No.
We will all be receiving cyanide lace brownies in the mail for this.
Yes.
Sorry, Mom. Love you, Mom.
This is
Hello,
my
love
wife,
you too.
Laura. And I just wanted her to share about
What do you want?
that idea of that phrase, it's no wonder, and how that's helped us. You were talking about it just a day or two.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just feel like when you are able to realize that, you've dealt with some trauma, you're doing the work, and then you come to that realization that, it's no wonder. It does take a lot of that shame, or at least it did in my circumstances. It takes a lot of that shame away. Like there is a reason why, I either behaved a certain way or, coped with something, maybe not in the best light, but it's no wonder I coped with it that way because of the trauma that I experienced. And it's just a freeing thought, because it like I said, it takes away that shame that really causes us to just drown in, in what we've done or what we've experienced or what's been done to us, for that matter. So, yeah. That's just been that's been a key to my healing, but then also that I think I heard you guys talking about this where you say a part of me feels. So that's been another thing, because it's not so overwhelming if I can think that a part of me feels betrayed or a part of me feels angry, which there is nothing wrong with those emotions, which again, religion has taught us that emotions are bad. You just need to feel, unless it's joy or love, those are okay. But anything that would be considered negative, we need to just get rid of that. We need to stuff it down, whatever. And so by saying a part of me feels frustrated, or a part of me feels lonely, or a part of me feels isolated, or a part of me feels rejected, that's been super helpful in not feeling so consumed with the things that have resulted in my personal trauma. So, yeah.
And it doesn't become it's not your whole being. In that
It's
case.
not your whole
identity.
identity.
It's a piece of me. Yeah.
Right. Because that is part of what happens is when you are like, I'm unlovable, or I'm a wretch, or whatever. I mean, how do you climb out of that?
Yeah.
If that's all, if you're identifying that as every part of you, but it's okay to say, and I can speak to or comfort that part of me that says, a part of me feels unlovable right now, or a part of me feels disappointed right now. I that saying a part of me or that piece of me is so much easier to console and be with than, I mean, what do you do with all of me is a wretch or a horrible person or unlovable, right? There's not much, it's just really hard to climb out of that.
I think there's also something in the words you were using there too, is I feel and I am. Like, even though those are very minor linguistic differences, the meaning behind those two is night and day. And I think we have to be careful about how we use our words and how we think about those things. Cause
that's something I say a lot. It's really interesting because I'm really good at, like, if somebody is self-deprecating, I'm really good at saying, don't talk to yourself that way. You're X, Y, and Z. You're beautiful. You're amazing. You're so helpful to the community or whatever. And yet I'll be the first one to, say those, speak to myself in a way that I would never speak to another person.
Yeah.
So learning again how to not do that and speak kindly to those parts of me that are wounded or hurting. Yeah.
As a fellow teacher, I also noticed that. Sorry to cut you off, Stuart, but it's like I notice, and it's out loud too. And I've been really, and I'm not good at it, but I've been really trying to stop myself from that, because because I'll say it out loud. I'm so stupid. I'm whatever. I'm blah 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 blah. The students hear that, and kids fucking pick up on that stuff instantly, and they pick up the same things. So when I'm like, stop calling yourself ugly. And then I say, I look like shit today. They're so it's,
well, and can I say something to that on a personal parenting note? I mean, I will never forget I know while you guys were growing up, okay, let me back up a little bit. You think about societal pressures on women to be a certain size, to not have any wrinkles. And I mean, if you look at me today, and people can't see me, but like, this is who I am today. Like, no makeup, hair up, like
beautiful.
This is who I am. But
gorgeous.
Way back, when you guys were growing up, it was all, I would say that in front of you guys. I know I did. And it's a generational thing too, because I heard it from my mom. And so I will never forget, though, the day that I said something negative about myself in front of our daughter, in front of your sister, Abby. And my first granddaughter, Holland, and Abby right there said, don't talk about yourself that way in front of my daughter, because I don't want her growing up saying those things about herself. And I was like, she was so right. Like, Stuart, I can't explain to you, just, I've been listening to you guys do this podcast, but it's like the amount of wisdom that our own children have taught us.
Yeah.
Like, I just wish parents would, our kids have something to teach us. They really, really do. And I'm not like saying that as, trying to flatter my kids or anything. I just really believe. I'm a school teacher of 8 and 9-year-olds, and they have things to teach me. I think our kids have something to teach us, and I think that they are just critical thinkers. And so I think sometimes we need to stop acting like we know it all and just take some time to listen to our kids. They've got important things to say.
I love your story about the kid in your class that thought he was stupid.
Yeah. Well, I really didn't handle that one very well.
Can you talk about that process?
Yeah, but I learned a lot since then. So, like, I had a student that, and this was probably what really ignited the trauma-informed, passionate side of me. But it was probably 4 or 5 years ago now, had a student in my class that he had gotten a message from his father that he was stupid. And when he was saying that he was stupid, I did not know this part of the story. So, some girls came up and said, he's saying, I'm not going to use his name, but he said that he is stupid. And so I called him over to my desk and I said, those girls say that you're over there saying how stupid you are. And he said, because I am. And he was like, as serious as could be. Like this, you could tell this was an deeply ingrained belief of his. And I just kept saying, no, you're not. And it's funny because the more I said that, the angrier at me he got, because his dad told him. And, one thing, I grew up with a mom who was a foster parent. And one thing we learned early is no matter how much abuse, a child, well, I won't say no matter how much, but even abused children will prefer to be with their parents. I mean, we had kids in foster care and they wanted to go back with mom, even though that was not the best place for them. It was not safe. It was not healthy, but that's where they wanted to be. And so me telling this student, you're not stupid. You're so smart. And look how far you've come this year and all that. It was as if I was telling him that not only was he a liar for thinking that, but his dad was a liar. And I didn't know that at the time, and I've just learned so much. So like I tell people, it's so important to validate. And when I say validate, that doesn't mean I'm going to tell a student, yeah, you are. Okay. I agree with you. You are,
you're dumb as hell.
I'm not going to say that. That would be terrible. But just to say that sounds like it must have really been a painful thing for you to hear,
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I've learned a lot since then, but that was a really hard lesson for me. I couldn't understand why he was getting so angry at me until I really understood, by saying, no, you're not, what I was really imparting on him, which was that you don't know what you're talking about and your dad's a liar, So
that's good.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, thank you for letting me
Crash the barn.
hone in on your party here.
We expect
Thank you for making it not such a sausage party.
Send your bill to Karl for whatever this guest appearance costs you.
And although I love you, Stuart, I'm really, although I love you, Stuart, I'm really here for Jordan. Because I don't get to see his face very often. I know. I'm sorry.
You didn't do a very good job of drawing me in with your saying good morning to Stuart and then
I know.
I was a little.
This is where the trauma comes from right now.
Okay.
Talking about curing the trauma, and now
Yeah,
I know that.
yeah.
She did talk to him yesterday, so you got a little
No,
bit of a fix
It's true.
yesterday.
For sure.
Yeah, that's true.
This is
There's only,
tough.
I
2
mean,
days ago.
you can only handle so much, man. A
No.
lot.
Pause for me to cough my head off here for a second.
No, but I love what Laura was saying. Because it kind of reminds me adjacently of something my therapist works with me on, the idea of you honoring the feelings but challenging the thoughts. That idea of just like what you're feeling is real, but let's challenge those thoughts, or like what is going through your head at that moment. Like maybe this is coming from something else, and maybe it's it's something more deep seated, or something I'm not noticing, or something I'm out of touch with in myself right now that I need to work on. But because I think otherwise we can push it down or bottle it down.
Yeah.
The guy that helped with my focusing, some used to say, so what I hear you saying is, is that what you want for yourself? Is that where you want to go? And questions like that sometimes help to draw it out. But it is important, I think, in all situations to admit how we feel, where we feel it. It's a part of us. It's not all of us. But all that's good work, but it's hard work.
Yeah.
I'm sounding Kamala-ish there. All work is good work.
All work. Well, not all work is good work. Let's be honest. There's bad work too. But it's also about like being there. And one thing that I thought about from what Mom said, being a teacher, is like I go back to I dislike maxims of like when teachers always say like, oh, my kids teach me more than I teach them. It's like, well, then you're a shitty teacher, so fuck off. But I do think they do have a lot to teach us, and a lot of that is not like them actually just teaching us. It's about the fact that like, okay, I don't know why I thought about this, but when she was saying that, I thought about I have a kid, and
wait, you have a kid?
Shit. Yeah. I didn't mean to say that out loud.
It's known as a love child.
Well, your grandpa again.
We would be happy.
So
Take 'em
my
out.
only two kids are these stinky dogs that keep running in and out of that. I keep having to mute my mic. Anyway, I have a student, and he has like family anxiety and also deals with like sleep stuff. And I used to always try to. He works really hard. He's really hardworking, super bright kid. And I would always tell him like, hey, your homework is like, go to bed early. You got to go to bed, go to sleep now. And then one day he just came into me. He's like, hey, can you not tell me to go to bed anymore? Because it gives me anxiety and it makes it harder for me to sleep. And it fucking devastated me. Like that's such a small, like little thing. Like you wouldn't, it's just like, he's just like, please don't tell me that. But I was like, fuck. Like, so now I don't. Now I'm just like, take care of yourself, do the things you know you need to do, like, and try to relax. But like, if you need anything, like reach out to me. And he hasn't come further with that. But like, I just remember like, it's really important how you word yourself. Because, like still thinking about it, like makes me emotional because I felt so bad because he's, such a hardworking kid and so dedicated. And I don't, you don't want to add anything to that, but yeah. And just being, I guess, sensitive to those moments you can learn a lot from just little interactions like that.
And one thing, Karl, you said that got me was that you'd said that you feel like you're too old to still have these insecurities or something along that line. But I think that whether it's in dealing with trauma and trying to get healthier, or whether it's dealing with how we're walking like on a spiritual plane, I think anytime that people get to this place of like, I've arrived, I have done this, I have figured this out and mastered it. Yeah. I don't think we're ever going to be fully done with trauma. I just think it's about unburdening ourselves and getting some of that off of us so we can hopefully live and engage healthier and happier.
I think we both deal with the I should be over this by now.
Mm-hmm.
We deal with that a lot, and that thought doesn't help us at all.
Mm-mm.
It just drives wedges, and makes us even more insecure, and it's not a helpful strategy.
Mm-mm.
I mean, we got to have a little bit of urgency. I think JD's talked about a couple of times, a little bit of urgency of this is hard work, it's going to take some effort and so on, but you got to give yourself a break kind of occasionally, right? But that's about all I know so far.
Well, and to that end, like, realize that it kind of sounds a bit pessimistic, but there's not a destination. We don't live in a paradise. You're always going to be incurring new issues or things that trigger you, but the hope is that it slowly cones down. Sorry, my dogs keep running now, but it gets less and less. But there may never be a point where you're not potentially going to be bothered by something, or you couldn't incur a new trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But if we do our homework, we develop our skills, we give ourselves space and time, that's going to get less and less. And in turn, we're going to the phrase you used earlier, I really do like that phrase, is hurt people. We're going to be less hurt, and so we will hurt people less. And so again, starting small from the local level, from our local nexus, will hurt less people, so they'll hurt less people, and so hopefully as a global community, we'll end up having less trauma as a whole, and everyone will have less of that. A little bit idealistic, but hopefully.
Amen.
Yeah, come on.
All right, again, gentlemen, I think we may have solved everything.
We did. We've done a good job
problem
again.
in the world, and
It's so hard that we're this good at it.
It's rough, yeah. It's rough, but sometimes you got to shine bright.
Well, that's all we've got, guys. If you have different topics, different ideas, different questions, we love to be able to engage with it on this show. We'd love to hear maybe advice you're seeking. You need questions about issues you're going through, relationship advice, we don't care. We'll still take it and help you. Or if you're just looking for new topics that you think we should explore, please send it our way. And subscribe, and do all that other jazz that people tell you to do on podcasts, and your life will be better. And thanks for joining the cult.
You got to laugh out loud for me on that one.
That's good.
That's what I worry about. That I think about if a comedian came out and there was a crowd full of me, all laughing kind of quietly.
It would be wheezing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If I laugh hard enough, I cough. So be kind of quiet laughing and coughing. Anyway,
that's all right.
The end.
So just be like an emphysema convention.
Yeah.
People just